कौन सा एपिसोड कौन सा है? एपिसोड 73? एपिसोड 73? 73. All right,
हाँ
guys.
नहीं, पुलकित इज 72, उसके बाद वी डिड अनदर वन अवार्ड.
No, we did not, Himanshu. No, we
पुलकित
Pulkit
पुलकित
is
पुलकित इज
71.
71. पुलकित इज 71. आफ्टर दैट डिड वी डू अनदर वन?
No. Yes, we did.
गॉट इट. सो हाँ, 73 अभी.
How do you feel, Shreya, on your debut podcast?
Nervous.
Nervous for the Discontent podcast?
Yeah.
You've made all our thumbnails. What are you nervous about?
Yeah, but I didn't have to talk in the thumbnails. No.
Your thumbnails is the talking for you. Or did they really though? Look at our views. You're
not coming, right?
responsible for that. Hey, huh?
It's not coming, right?
एक बार और इससे खाली एक लेवल
Now
कम
this
करो.
is an ASMR thing.
Don't do ASMR.
Now
Not
this is
that
normal.
kind of YouTube channel.
This is normal. This fine?
Yeah. By the way, Himanshu, I just want to let you know that all of this is being recorded. And because this is a recorded episode, I can literally edit and put any of this stuff on the episode, which is going to be fun. And we don't have to read people's disgusting chat messages.
That was not bad though. You could have continued.
Take four. Take four.
Ah.
Take four. I'm not doing any more intros. One last time. Okay.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Discontent Podcast. This is episode 73. And I'm Aditya Khanna. With me is Himanshu Arya.
Hi guys.
And this week, we're discussing the show Severance. To discuss Severance, we've got a very special guest. Her name is Shreya Sethi. Hi, Shreya.
Hello.
And would you like to introduce yourself to our wonderful listeners?
So I'm a graphic designer and animator, and these thumbnails that you see on the channel are made by me, and the logo and stuff. So yeah, that's what I do.
So pretty much you guys, if you are not familiar with Shreya, you are familiar with her work because apart from the thumbnails, if you've seen our history video or Bharat's video on Border or any of the short films with the intros and the outros, Shreya makes all of those. So yeah, do
Plus
follow
she
her.
also makes really good accessories.
Yes.
And you need to check out her page, which is also a store on Instagram called Tinkerings Store, right?
Tinkerings.store on Instagram. There's also a website. We link both in the description. Go buy earrings, guys. You guys can check that out. We can move on with discussing the show. God damn it. This is all going to be edited. There's going to be spoilers in this episode where we're discussing Severance because there's absolutely no point to discussing the show without spoilers. So this is a spoiler discussion. This week we're going to be talking about what is perhaps the best sci-fi show to have come out in a very long time. It's called Severance. It's directed by Ben Stiller. It stars Adam Scott and others. The others include Christopher Walken, who's the other? John Turturro. So a very star-studded cast. Who's the lady? Who's the Patricia Arquette, right? Patricia Arquette. Yeah, she was also in Boyhood, right? She was the mom from Boyhood. Severance is available on Apple TV. I'll just give you guys a gist of the show before we begin our discussion. Severance is a show about, we don't know when it's based. It might be based in the near future or present. We're not sure. It's about, basically there is a technology available in this universe where you can sever your mind into two halves, which is your work half and your outside of work half, your real life half. And essentially you won't remember memories from one to the other. So your memories are spatially dictated. So every time you enter your workspace, you are a new person. You forget all about your real life and whatever relationships, children, wife, husband, whatever. And you forget about that and you are at work. And when you go back, the same thing. You don't know what you do for a living, but you are in control. You have done this voluntarily, that you have like certain people have decided to sever themselves. And that's the core concept of the show. With that, I'd like to jump right into the discussion, and starting with our guest, Shreya, what do you think about Succession? What do you think about Severance?
So let Himanshu go first.
Chalo,
you
theek hai.
go first and then I'll go.
All right. So we'll start the discussion with Himanshu, I guess. And so Himanshu, what are your first thoughts on Severance? What do you think?
First off, I've been asking you guys to watch it since a long time. And अब क्या हो रहा है ना, तुम लोग को पहले बोला and उसके बाद 2 हफ्ते हो गए, 3 हफ्ते हो गए, and now you guys have seen it. So there's a bit of a delay in my memory. it's like my mind has been severed since then. But but I'll tell you what, I found it to be a very hellish experience. Like it's like a horror movie, even though it's a funny horror show. Like it felt like, because I constantly thought about, being in their shoe. Imagine you go to you're always at work. Imagine you never leave. It feels like it pinched me the most. Like I couldn't imagine it. And I felt like, matlab, whoever wrote it, whoever made it, whoever thought of it, that person must have gone through some fuck all, work experience through his life. And he must have thought this out he must have taken a day out and would have been like, he must have been, I don't know. Even I don't have any proper words. Why don't you tell? तू बता एक बार.
मतलब साला सबके पास ही शब्द नहीं है बहुत बात करने को, but no, you're right. It is a very hellish, or rather a very helly experience to watch this show. And before we begin, I would like to just quote something that I found on Twitter. It was shared by Aarti Kadav, who's the director of Cargo, that if you guys have seen that Netflix film, which is also a sci-fi film. And she said, she was quoting a man called Frederick Pohl, who had said a good science fiction story should be able to predict not the automobile, but the traffic jam. And I think that is where Severance is a truly great sci-fi show, because it predicts, the fact that it is not simply a sci-fi show about, oh, kitna cool, kitna mindfuck. Like it's not just about that, it's not just that it is, oh, imagine what your life would be like if you could separate. It's not, it is actually, in my opinion, the show is all about class and about class consciousness in a sense. It's about workers very literally realizing that they are completely disconnected. And sorry to go like Marx theory on fucking people like out of left field over here, but like it's about the alienation of the workforce is what Marx spoke about. So this is literally taking a very, very political idea and adding a sci-fi layer to it, which is ingenious. I think it's a very rare thing to find that kind of maybe I would actually compare this, and I might be wrong, but I think this show is so well done that it's comparable to something like a 1984, because 1984 also is like George Orwell predicting not the fact that there will be cameras everywhere in the future. He's predicting what those cameras will be used for, right? So I think that is a very important aspect of all of this, and that is why I particularly enjoyed the show, apart from the thrill and all of that.
So I was just adding, like when you said like a mindfuck experience, a lot of times in recent times movies have come out and they put too much effort into the concept, right? They are called the concept movies, and Nolan's movies are high concept movies, right? So it nowadays high concept movies are so detached itself. Like for example, Tenet, when we saw that, we understood what the fucking problem was, right? It's concept. Yeah. Now it's not, there is no story. They have forgotten that other side of it, which we all wanted to enjoy, right? Like Tenet really is detached completely, like from the entire emotions of the character and this and that. So with Severance, I think the concept is good. The concept is like the main thing about it. The concept is great. Okay. But then they go very well with the emotions of the character. Like they delve deep into every character's every emotion. And that's how it becomes really, truly interesting, right?
Coming to our guest, what do you think about this show?
So yeah, like adding to what you all said, it is quite an anxiety-inducing show. So like they literally, like even how their tables are set up and stuff, they look like lab rats in a way. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was really interesting how, like, the concept was obviously really interesting, and I am really into art direction and stuff. So like the art of the show was like really good. Like it really attracted me. I liked how it was also funny in some places. It had that weird sort of humor, like when they do the dance and like the dance party and everything. Like that was really. I think the cast is really good. I really like Adam Scott, like in Parks and Rec also, and I just watched Big Little Lies. So he has this like really he's like a really nice character in it, but he has like this dark side sort of like, so he does those, like he's pretty versatile that way. And like the other cast
He's
also,
from
like
SNL,
Dylan.
na? Is he from SNL? Did you guys see him before?
He has a very SNL type face. I don't know if he
Yeah.
is from SNL.
He's
But-
like a Jesse Eisenberg kind of a character. Na?
वैसा
His
type का
face.
दिखता है वो. हाँ, correct.
But did you guys like his character, or which was the character that you actually felt was the most compelling?
Huh. No, I think Patricia Arquette's character was really compelling. She's a sort of primary antagonist in the show, in a sense.
But why? But why? Tell me. Even I am on with that only because I felt like she was given a lot of weight. Okay, but then in the end, the last episode, she was kind of left.
Spoiler alert for everyone. Yes.
अच्छा ठीक है. I won't spoil it right now.
अरे तो
but
spoiler alert दे दिया ना, तो now you can spoil. Don't hold yourself back.
अच्छा ठीक है. So in the last episode, right now that she has been fired and she's gone back, and we realize that she's been with Adam McKay for the long run, right? Since she's a neighbor. So she goes to her sister's book launch. I think it's it's something, right? I'm forgetting. The last episode, basically, Adam McKay wakes up in the middle of Adam McKay. है क्या उसका नाम?
Adam McKay नहीं है भाई. Adam McKay is the director of
That's the director.
of the Big
हाँ.
Short. Adam Scott. Adam Scott is his name.
So Adam Scott wakes up right in the outside, the outie,
Yeah.
and then he realizes that his boss is here. The thing is, the last bit of that last episode, I felt like they were giving her something to do because they didn't want. What you tell me? What do you think? But I felt like they were looking for the child, and then you realize that a child is left, like not taken, like not kidnapped, right? So
Yeah. So I disagree with you completely. In fact, I think the last episode was so well done. It was very well stitched together. And I don't think they were just giving us stuff to do. I think it was, again, I would like to connect it back to how I viewed the show, which is the whole political lens of it, which is she's been fired, right? And the conversation that she has with Helly at the end, where she's basically telling her that it's your people who are going to be hurt. It's your family. And it's your friends of your innie, like who are gonna suffer. You aren't gonna suffer. So she is so like bought into this whole, like she's clearly an average person, right? She's also an average person who hasn't been severed, and she's basically so bought in, despite being fired. She's so involved in the progress of the company that Himanshu is stuck in a very funny way. Okay, so she's so involved in it. I think the last episode, in fact, ties it all very together, especially when he sees her at the party, when he like wakes up at the end and he sees her at the party. And then, even with the baby, I think what is most interesting to me, just to deviate from that Selvig discussion, what is most interesting, that the world is very, very weird, like charmingly creepy, and like, for example, that guy, that bald dude who finds the baby along with Adam Scott, like he starts yelling immediately, like, I found the baby. I'm the one that found the baby. I found it first. Like just weird shit that, in a normal world, nobody would say that. Which means that, and there's a lot of theories that a lot of these guys have also been severed. Huh. I know Shreya because Shreya and I also incidentally live together. So, I know you've been reading a lot of theories about it. What is the most interesting stuff? And also, I know that you've found some documents which you'd like to tell us about.
Himanshu, have you read the Lexington letter?
No.
It's that document. So basically, they released a document. It's on Apple Books, written by a previous employee of the company. of Lumon. Lumon?
Lumen.
Lumen. No,
Lumen.
Lumon is the real company.
And lemon is chili lemon lace.
Is it based on a true story?
No. So this Lexington letter is like it's released by the makers of Severance, and they've just released it as like a additional, information about. So it's kind of like a short story if you read it. So it's her writing a letter to a journalist, and she is telling, she's basically giving like an expose. She's like a whistleblower, and she's telling this journalist about her experience and how her Inni and her have written letters to each other, and how they connect what the numbers are basically. So there's a theory in that the numbers are connected to real world events, like right after her Inni completes her 100% progress in those numbers, like 2 minutes after that there's a blast in one of the trucks of a rival company. So that's why she sees the news and she connects it to, like, what if we are doing this? What if these numbers are actually were doing bad things in the world, like corporate espionage or like that sort of thing? So that's what's given in that. And they also have the they have that orientation book. So the orientation book is also attached to the letters.
Damn, dude.
So there's like a lot of information in that as well. Like, yeah, basically you all should read it. It's pretty.
Yeah, we'll link it. We should link it in the description. We will link those documents. That sounds really cool. In fact, that whole
Yeah.
element that they don't know what they're doing, right? Like that again, all of this connects back to that whole sci-fi into real life, into the whole political angle of it, which is, corporations doing evil stuff with the employees also not knowing what exactly they're doing. And they're doing it because they're getting rewarded with stupid shit like those finger things and like a
Waffle
weird
party.
waffle party or a dance party. By the way, Himanshu, we came up with you had something to say.
That is also kind of connected to how like the children, right? Like the Innis are sort of like children because they don't know anything. So that's why like they're given these kind of gifts, to also in the Lexington letter, she basically sends the letters through symbols, right? Like, so she and her sister had made up some weird language when they were younger. So her Inni sort of remembers that language. So they are kind of talking in that language. It's like G is for boob, like boobs are for G, and like, like weird shit. Like so that's why I think in the show they changed the, like, before only letters could be detected by those elevators. So I think after that incident, like even symbols can be detected.
That's interesting. I
pretty
need to see this here because I feel like the idea of the first seasons are always to like establish a world, right? And then the second season or whatever, any sequel, it kind of explodes the world building. It makes it very interesting. So even with Severance, the first season was so intense. I felt like the second season could explode, right? We need to know everything now. Everything. So the main thing that we need to know is what do they do, right? And if they keep hinting at something or the other, I'm sure like over the next season or the next, if hopefully there are multiple seasons, we'll figure this shit out. So I'll tell you what I was thinking about while watching it. My experience while watching the show was that I realized that it's not written as a comedy, right? It's not. It's written with complete like a thriller only. It's written with that. It didn't need to have any comedy in it. But what's happening, very very finely done by the director Ben Stiller in the first two and the last episode, and then the other directors, is that they're injecting humor into this thriller, right? And that's where it gets so interesting
and becomes creepy. Especially it becomes very creepy.
Yeah, and there's the irony, the fact that this person is stuck, okay, and you can see him sad outside, but inside he is fine. So that's a very it's an irony which a lot of people can, like, I think relate to. Maybe not relate. It's just funny, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you what.
I would, okay, if you, unless you have something to say, I want to add one thing which was the funniest thing to me in the show. The character of the brother-in-law, okay, who has written a self-help book. A lot of it is very contemporary, because it's related to work, right? And the thing is, these guys, when they get that copy, it's like, often have this discussion with like older people in my family or whatever, when they talk about religion, because I'm a full atheist. Okay. And when they talk about, oh, but these books have been written and all of this knowledge has been passed down, that all of these things happened. And the whole, that whole argument, right? That it's a very basic, very debate lord kind of Reddit first year kind of argument, but it's a valid argument in my opinion, which is that, if in the future our current humanity just dies out, and the future somebody finds like a Game of Thrones or like a book or like Harry Potter, they'll think that was real, and they'll think these are facts, right? But in the show, the same thing happens where these people get this really dumb, really like basic ass motivational WhatsApp quote, the self-help book, but it changes their life. This guy is their god suddenly, and that's why when in the end, when they're meeting him, they should not take the Lord's name in vain, I guess. But when he meets him in that party, in that book reading, he's like, "Fuck, dude, you're a genius. What are you talking about? Why are you feeling so nervous? You're like my god." Like it's actually kind of cool, and it's also a commentary on these days how there are so many self-help types or like these motivational speakers, as we rant about in every episode apparently. So and how people take, so it's about like when you're in it's kind of rude to say this, but when you're in empty vessel, any kind of generic gyan can become very fucking enlightening or some shit like that.
But then there is also there is another layer to it now. Like they have artwork on the walls, right?
Yeah.
So the kind of artwork that is allowed inside and the kind that is not allowed inside is also a big deal, right? So it shows that whatever that comes in, like for example, there was this movie, okay, it had Christian Bale in it. I'm forgetting the name. You guys can Google it if you want. It's a science fiction thriller with Christian Bale in it, and it's about how in the future, artwork is illegal, and any sort of artwork is basically like they burn it. So the opening scene is only that there are people, they're smuggling the Mona Lisa out from some underground prison kind of a place, and then these commandos, this group of this agency, that is against art, they come and they confiscate it, and then they burn the Mona Lisa or something like that. That's the opening scene of that movie.
So I'm literally googling. Bol.
Google kar le. So I felt like they have taken all of this draws inspiration from 1984 as well, right? Because that book had this particular aspect about how art changes our perspective, and we kind of open our eyes or whatever, the way we get motivated.
Especially because that artwork is propaganda, right? They're trying to, and again, it's about there is a moment in one of the episodes, I can't recall which one, that these guys are basically, when the two departments, Christopher Walken's art department and the processing department, when they meet, and they have like this moment, right, which is like they're basically forming a union. What is that? That's
no, also to avoid this unionization, they use art, right? Because they have the painting that one department is given the painting where the other department is slaughtering them, and it's vice versa, so that they don't interact with each other. So that also is pretty interesting. And all the artwork is based on care, right? Like it's all like to kind of worship him, sort of.
So very cult of personality developing for the founder of the company, which if any of you all have worked in one of these narcissistic startups, then you will know, you will relate. Especially, this is also a thing in modern day offices, right? Where you're encouraged not to discuss your salaries because once you start discussing, people will know, fuck, I do as much work as this guy. Why am I not getting paid as much, right? So that's the thing. I mean, Himanshu and I have not held a proper job for longer than 3 months. I mean, in a corporate kind of environment. Shreya, you worked for 3 years. Any thoughts on that?
Nah, I mean,
Okay, today I'm forgetting everything. You know, I had so many points to make about this. So this tell me one thing. This company, Lumen, is it a new company or is it a very
It's
old
very old
company?
ना
Like a lot of CEOs are there.
दादा परदादा थे ना उसके.
So severance is a new thing, right? The idea of getting severed, this entire process, it's a new process, right? It
So
must be like couple of
we
years or something.
no, we know exactly how old it is. It's about 20 years old, 25 years old, because Helly in the last episode, her father tells her, right, that when I showed this to you for the first time and we were just developing it, you said that everyone in the world should have it. So assuming Helly is like in her mid 20s, then this is basically around that age. Of course, it would have gone into public circulation much later, I'm assuming, but because there's like public debate also around it, right? There are protesters against it and all of that, and a lot of people have been severed for a very long time.
Yeah, Adam personally, the character of Mark, he to basically did it because of a particular reason, right?
He did it 2 years back.
2 years, na. So
Huh.
that also has a effect on his mental health because every time he's out, Bichara, he's like crying in the
Yeah.
car only outside. And then the moment he goes in, na, that elevator shot, the moment he goes in, that smile on his face, na, and his face is very perfect, na, for this.
Correct. Yeah.
He has that thing, ki, matlab, he's like a doll only. Like he looks like you can't read him. You can't read his thoughts. And what does he believe in? If it's right or wrong.
Especially about the performances, it's so perfectly done because I mean, for most part of the show, we don't see the other characters except for Adam out in the outside world. Like we don't see them consistently outside and inside, so we don't have a touch point. But for Adam's character, it is, I mean, dude, the way he switches, right? Like in that elevator when there is that slight zolly and then they shift the eyes and all that. After that, dude, his performance is like brilliant. I mean, he is a. I couldn't believe that you can do it so well. Which is what in the outside world, he's like a little bit of a cynic. He's a bit of a loner. He's not like very. He doesn't give a shit. He's more of a very coolish guy. On the inside, he's like a office dummy. He's just walking around. People make fun of him. Like nobody takes him seriously, and it's completely antithetical to his personality outside.
Even his relationship with Rikin, the brother-in-law, like he thinks he's a dumb fuck. Like outie Mark thinks he's a dumb fuck, but Innie Mark is like he's like God, Like
So they
that's pretty
make them
funny.
meet in the end, na? They make them meet in the last episode, na, when he goes ekdam.
Yeah.
Do you
What does he
guys
say? Do you remember what he says to the
He,
brother-in-law?
he talks about how he's nervous or something, and he's like he thinks it's all bullshit what he's saying and all, and then Mark is just like, no, what you're saying is so cool. That like he's all awestruck and stuff. So yeah.
But I'll tell you, there feels to be like I feel like in the future, na, when this story becomes even more detailed, it'll get so interesting because abhi, na, we are just seeing the top of the iceberg that you can't deduct only. You can't tell what is going to happen in the future. But like I'm waiting for this to really open up. And that's why I asked you guys to watch it. Yeah.
There's a theory that he is also an Egan. I don't know. It's a Reddit theory. So like, but yeah, it is.
But
I really don't want it to be like a Star Wars thing. You know what happens in Star Wars, right? Everybody.
I know everyone's a Skywalker, na?
That shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be a small world. Make it open. Let this be a concept thing only. Don't let this be a drama. Yeah.
But I do want to, even about the writing of the show, I mean, the way they reveal, and this is something very critical to sci-fi writing, right? What you reveal, how much you reveal, when you reveal it. And especially in a sci-fi thriller where there's a double angle of not only do you have to maintain a level of secrecy about the science aspect of it, but also the thriller aspect of it, the personalities and how much you reveal about them. And the way they do it at the final episode and the build up to it is, I think, a work of genius, because the way those reveals happen, like for example, I did not think Helly was related to the founder in any way, right? Like she's actually she's a PR stunt essentially for people to see that, right? And even these guys, like Dylan's character, like for the moment, that the fact that they can activate them, like, you know, a lot of this could have felt like Deus Ex Machina for these characters कि अभी ये लोग के पास कुछ है नहीं करने को तो इनको ये दे दो. But the way they reveal it, like you're just told that they can be awakened, they can be. And when you think about it, yeah, that's true. If a company that's so diabolical, they would always have a fail safe like this, right? So I think the way they've ended this show and the amount they've revealed at the end is a lot. I mean, the first कितना episode है season में?
9 है ना?
9. So the first 8 episodes, they barely reveal anything. I mean, we don't know. And in the 9th episode, there is so much revealed that, like, we're literally willing to get severed till the time the next season comes, you know? And like, honestly, I can't wait for this show. Like, it's one of the best things. Again, I'm repeating myself, but it is fucking insane.
नहीं यार, बहुत सही है सच में. And I'll tell you where it can go. Where do you think it can go? Do you have any theories about that? Do you think I'll tell you what I think in the future na, I think season 2 will start with all of these characters having been severed, restarted. Do you get me?
Possible.
Because I feel like
Fuck.
everybody has woken up, everybody has. So abhi kya hai na, you can't keep, because either it goes ki Lumen has to fall, right? Lumen has to basically go down and these characters will start a revolution or a union or something or the other. So it's a there's a suggestion of a revolution, right? Within in the inside world, because outside world mein to revolution aisa kuch matlab hoga nahi. They'll probably protest and all, but I feel like the top management and whatever, they are going to get smart about this whole thing. So then the thing is going to get even more tough.
Because so far they had been relatively freer with the way they let these people do whatever, because they thought they were so secure that. But now I feel like in the future season there's going to be an additional element of that. You know, that lady, that scientist who had inserted all of this, who killed that guy, dude.
Security.
Regabi killed the security guy, yeah. And I think that is going to come in, especially I think Adam Scott's character, again, because he's the protagonist in a sense. So because he is I think he would be him and Helly, right? Because Helly has put it out there. Like, she actually went to stage and started yelling, but assuming it's like maybe it's a private event and no, they did not have media over there, and they could probably control the media as well. So, I mean, maybe that wouldn't get out, but Adam Scott has told his sister everything, right? And like, so now essentially Adam Scott's the outie character will now also know all of this stuff, right? That she's alive. Like, it ends with, and dude, that was such a heart-stopping moment when he's carrying her photo and you're desperate that he can let people know that his wife's alive, right?
He couldn't tell anybody. He could have told other people around, you know. He could have told the people, because he had to run to his sister, right?
Right. Because nobody else would believe him, right? They'll be like, what the fuck is he saying?
Yeah.
But मुझे लगा उससे पहले उसको बंद कर देगा ना, तो फिर गया. बंद नहीं हुआ. Ultimately, he got to tell her, right? That's good.
And Helly also got to do her outburst. Plus, dude, the next season will open very interestingly, because John Turturro is banging on Christopher Walken's house, right? This one is about to get fucked by Milchick, right?
Yeah.
Dylan, right? Because Dylan is also caught. Adam Scott's character Selvig knows exactly what he's up to, so there is that element of it as well. And that moment, man, that was so well done. When Adam Scott is essentially in that party and he is playing it so perfectly. He's playing the character of the outie so well, until he's just going and he says, he uses her inside wala naam kya hota hai uska? Cobell. He says, thanks, Mrs. Cobell. And he just leaves. Because he doesn't know she's using a different name out here.
Yeah.
Which is amazing when you think about it.
Also, like, there's a theory that Dylan knows Milchick outside of work. Like,
they could, because
they act very shocked when, you know, when his outie form was
at his house.
At his house. Yeah.
Or it's possible. I also thought, you know, he must have come in saying, I want to repair a television or something inside, you know, like a
No,
repair
but
person
it's
or
like they know Milkshake, right? Because like even the outies know Milkshake because when Mark says I'm not coming into work, he calls Milkshake.
they know him. So yeah,
Yeah, so
then
they are
they'll-
like he is their connection to the inside,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah. Even so
Like
these
their
two people,
supervisor.
they are not severed at all, right? Patricia and Milchek, they
Yeah.
are fine, right? So what kind of clearance do they have? They also seem to be middle management, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does middle management go in and out? Because then it's, what if you convince a middle management to kind of be on your side? If you're an INI, you could kind of connect them, right? You could so I know they'll lose their job, like how Patricia lost her job after being too involved.
Mm.
But it's like there seems to be some loopholes here and there in the story,
Yeah,
right? Like,
because she seems to be like doing things on her own, like even with the Miss Casey thing, where she's like experimenting with her, where she's like sort of I don't know, she's trying to see if they can remember each other. Because I'm guessing that's why she sends her to like overlook Kelly Helly also, because and she took that candle and everything. So like she's like kind of doing her own experimentation, sort of.
yeah, I'll tell you, I think, that's the thing. The first season is always a little chaotic, little messy. Like even Office ka first season was very different, right? Like tone pehle pata nahi chalta hai. But like I think they figured it out with some things. Like for example, Adam Scott's casting, they got it right. The humor that Ben Stiller brings, they got that right. The shooting, which is like minimalistic, right? They've shot it in a very, and the set design, they've got these things right. They've got a lot of, and the basic drama that can happen with the INI and the outie, and the unionization, the revolution, the book. They've got a lot of things right. A lot of concepts are on track. Some of them, I guess, they were trying to figure out in the writing process. And when you cast Patricia, and you might they must be figuring out how to cast her well, how to give her a good, interesting character. So they have a good. So like the first episode ends with them you finding out their neighbors, right? So
Right. Yeah.
it's like it feels like a thriller. Like what if she is basically after his life personally? But then later on you realize no, she has much more work to do. But then by the last few episodes you realize she's again back to Adam only. She has a particular interest in Adam's life.
Like
So
she goes as a nanny also, like whatever the
so there is a lot of questions now, and I think aage jaake they'll clarify.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, in the Lexington letter, so basically it's like she's sending it to like a journalist, right? She's sending this woman is sending the letter to this journalist, and there are also emails of the journalist talking to her bosses or whatever. Okay, like should we do this story, sort of thing. There's a journalist whose surname is Milchek, and he's the one who stops stops them from running the story, basically.
Wait, hold on. So I'm so confused. The letter that this person is sending, the outie person, the person in the Lexington letter that they released, which you can find in the description below, that letter, this woman is sending it to
a
journalist whose name is Milchik.
No. So the journalist, we also see emails. So it's not just the letter. We also see the emails where the journalist has forwarded this letter to her bosses.
Okay. And her boss is somebody called Milchik.
Yeah. And he's the one who's like, we can't do this story. And we don't have enough,
It could be related, na? Or it could be the same guy. But either way,
either way, dude, either way, it basically means that they're in on the whole
they
thing.
have people everywhere.
And there were these theories also, right? That which I spoke about earlier, which is that outside people are also severed. Like, for example, they don't know. Like, I was watching this video on YouTube, and we've been sort of consuming a lot of severance content online, and in which they spoke about how in that dinner discussion, that guy did not know that the Great War, that World War I was called the Great War, obviously, right? Like that's very basic knowledge, right? It's not something that.
It's not because he's severed, though. I think it's just
I think it's related. I think anyone would know that.
Because they all act like children. Like even
Rickon.
Ricken, not so much. Yeah, Ricken also sort of, but you know that woman who's sharing the book with him. She's also like she really acts like a child. So there is like a theory that all of these people are severed.
And also with the lady that Shreya mentioned at the end, right? Who these two are sharing a book, and she's like, I need to change my name again. Okay. Which is again, we are told that Adam Scott, for example, has been there only 2 years inside. So he's technically a baby, right? In that world.
Yeah.
So and these people are also acting like she said, they're acting like babies. So it's very, very likely that a lot like that Selvig is not the only one keeping an eye on these people, that
So basically, there's a theory that Selvig is an innie. Like her life is an innie. Like there's no
Throughout.
out. Like the outie's been severed. Like outie is gone now.
damn.
And also like there's that whole thing with her like her mom's thing, Charlotte. She has that pipe in her shrine sort of thing for cure, and even her like room and everything, it's very so like her backstory is she was in this school like for Cure's school or whatever. So like apparently her room is also like that, like it's like a boarding type room, right? Like or it looks like a hospital room or something. So like there's that theory that
So, acha, so that she must have been, there is probably somewhere there is a school and it has kids who are severed and they basically pray to the god, which is Kier.
Oh, so you're saying that they're raised to be these kind of operatives, which is why actually that makes sense, because that the fact that she's fired, the way she reacts to it also, I mean, of course, a lot of people react to that anyway when they're fired, but she takes it like really her commitment to this is so large that yeah, that's true. It's possible that she has been raised to be there, like operatives that have been raised to do this. In fact, this is a concept it's been long sought after, right? Like I don't know if you guys have read Born Identity, Born Supremacy when you were younger.
Not read it.
Have you seen the movies?
Huh.
But in the book also, it's like it's very detailed. In the movie, I don't remember that much, but about how they make these soldiers, right, which don't have any memories of their past, and they sort of brainwash them till a certain extent, and so that they can go and do black ops that they don't want, countries don't want to be associated by. So it's possible there are others who do this kind of stuff. Like maybe that security guy is a veteran who's been severed, and he's like a completely, because he's on the outside also he's normal. So he could be one of these milkshake. All of these middle management are people that are completely devoid of their, which again comes out to the whole class politics thing, which is middle management is almost always the barrier between, like, and they are meant to be, they are so always absolutely controlled by the top level that they don't let that, that's like a Lakshman Rekha of a sense, that
they
the lower
can't
workers
cross it.
cannot cross that, right?
I think the class angle of the whole story is very strong, like way stronger than the story itself, and that's why it's as of now very interesting. The interesting aspect of it is the high concept, right? How it's a science fiction, but it's also about the society and about the class difference that is prevalent in our society. I think it connects to the Indian audience way more.
हाँ, सब लोग सड़ है ना जॉब में इसके लिए.
Indian audience of और class difference ज़्यादा है ना थोड़ा. Like the income inequality. It's like
about caste bhi hai, so that it's an additional sort of layer to it. It's a very generational thing over here also. So
it's a very good show to educate people about manipulation, like how capitalist overlords are manipulating us through propaganda,
right?
But then those kind of movies are already there. It's not like it's a new idea.
Of course, but the whole,
it's a good show to promote and make this more clear.
And with that, I would like to tell our audience that if you'd like to support us, you can do so by joining our Buy Me a Coffee page or joining the Discontent membership on YouTube. And with this, you get entry into our WhatsApp group. You can check the tier details either on our Buy Me a Coffee page, for which the link will be in the description, or the YouTube membership. Join our WhatsApp group, because we have these discussions all day. Literally the other day I had to wake up at 4 o'clock and tell them to sleep because people were just discussing movies. So it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of heated discussions, a lot of funny stuff, a lot of memes. Join us on that group and it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, so with that plug on our capitalistic ambitions, is there anything more that you want to talk about this show? I'm sure there's a lot more to unpack. But
nahin, Ravi, I'm just waiting for the second season. Let's go for the recommendations and stuff.
Sure. Apart from the Lexington letter, which is like a unanimous recommendation. All right, my recommendation for the week is, I haven't recommended this on the podcast, I think, which is Sharp Objects. Did I recommend it?
You have, I think. You have told us.
I told these guys privately. So, yeah, my recommendation is Sharp Objects. It's a show on Hotstar. It's a very popular show, but I still think it's a little underwatched. People haven't spoken about it enough, at least in my circles. And it is one of the best shows on mental health and on in terms of true crime. It is a fascinating show. It is directed by Jean-Marc Vallée, who sadly died a couple of years back, very young. He directed Dallas Buyers Club, by the way, and Big Little Lies. So Sharp Objects is an absolutely mind-blowing true crime thriller. Everyone should watch it. Check it out on Hotstar. That's my recommendation for the week. Himanshu, your recommendation?
So I have two recommendations. I watched this documentary on Netflix called The Photographer, and it's about how a journalist photographer in Argentina in 1970s, I think, how he was murdered, and there was a conspiracy about why he was murdered. Basically, he was investigating certain people whom he was not supposed to, and then it leads from there to this entire unearthing of this entire conspiracy about how the mafia in Argentina is mixed with the politicians and even the president, and everybody is in on it. So it leads to a huge revolution in Argentina later on. So it's like, after that, I don't want to explain more than that, but this is the basic premise. So if you guys want to watch it, you can. It's very good. The second recommendation is also something I've done in one of the reels. Is basically, I had mentioned that I was really excited about this film called Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I watched it last night, and I couldn't finish the whole thing because it was 2 hours long, more than 2 hours long. I finished it right now before talking to you guys, and I swear it's very funny. It's like, we should have done, if you guys would have watched it today, we would have been doing that episode.
We can do that next time when Bharat's also here. Everything Everywhere All at Once. So our viewers can also watch that before we discuss it.
And they're discussing it in the group only, na? Like everybody's talking about it in the group. I wanted to talk to them yesterday only, but I'd only seen half, so I left that conversation. But after reading their points and then watching, I just finished it, right? I feel like it's a damn good film, and it's a much better multiverse film than the Doctor Strange movie, which is saying something, right? Because these people didn't have that kind of a budget. And it's also very interesting because I feel like the names of the movies should be reversed, because Everything Everywhere All at Once should be Multiverse of Madness for sure.
Okay.
Because it is that. It is a Multiverse of Madness. And Doctor Strange could be, because it's a chaotic.
Doctor Strange could be Everything Everywhere All at Once, because everything is just, it's all over the place.
You could say that. Yeah. So that's why I felt like you could switch the names. It will work.
Nice one. Shreya, do you have your recommendation ready?
Yeah, so my first recommendation would be this show called Inside Pixar. So it's like a docu-series. It's about how people work at the Pixar office, and it's very nice. Like, as a animator, it really makes me feel things. so yeah, and how they make their movies and everything, because they're like so emotional and stuff. So yeah, so that's a pretty good
Where can you
show.
watch it?
It's on Hotstar. And other than that, I recently watched Catch and Kill, the podcast tape. So that's about the Weinstein controversy. So yeah, it was pretty well made. Like, it wasn't like
Is
a
it a podcast? Is it a podcast?
so it is, yeah, it's a podcast. Like, it's like a docu-series adapted from Ronan Farrow's podcast. Like, he's an investigative journalist, so he was like, he wrote the whole New Yorker piece, and he's the one who did, like, the story came out through him, sort of. I mean, a lot of people tried before, but like, his was the main story that, you know, broke out. So yeah, so that
But it's a
is
video,
pretty
right?
well made.
It's not a. Basically they visualize the podcast. Right.
Yeah, so they've done like an explain on how the whole New Yorker piece came about and what they had to sort of go through, and then they have like how they found the victims and whatever happened. So there is a lot of, so it's not just the victims, it is basically everybody there. Each episode is like so there are 2-3 episodes where the victims come in, and then there is the editor who helped him, there is the people who edited the and fact checked the whole article, then other journalists who were already reporting on it, how they helped, and how what their whole experience with doing these stories was.
Where is this?
It's also on Hotstar, I think. Yeah,
fine. You
yeah,
can
it's
Google it
also
and
on
find it,
it's
yeah.
on Hotstar. Yeah, it's called Catch and Kill, the podcast tapes. So yeah.
Okay, so
Cool.
I have so the recommendations so far are Himanshu recommended the photograph, just photograph or the photograph.
No, I think it's the photographer.
The photographer, sorry, photograph is the Ritesh Batra film. So the photographer was recommended by Himanshu on Amazon Prime. Share recommended Catch and Kill, the podcast tapes, and Inside Pixar, both on Hotstar. I recommended, what did I recommend? I recommended Sharp Objects, also on Hotstar. Hotstar, please give us some money. Also, I would like to recommend a couple more things. First of all, the episode 2 of Aditya Learns to Read, the new Discontent book review podcast, is out now. It's on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. So you guys can check that out. It's a book review of Josie Joseph's The Silent Coup. It's a brilliant book. I believe Himanshu is currently reading it. So do check that book out and the review out if you want to see what the book is like before you pick it up. Apart from that, I've been on a bit of a Satyajit Ray trip past few weeks, because in college I think I'd seen Pathir Panchali. I had not watched the other two. I watched Mahanagar, Charulata, a few of these, but and of course Shatranj Ke Khiladi. But I have recently caught up with a lot of films. I have watched Nayak, Seema Badh, which is a brilliant film, and Sonar Kela, and Mahapurush. And I'm currently halfway through Agantuk. So I would recommend all of these films. You can find them somewhere or the other online, either on Mubi or on Amazon Prime. So do check these films out. They're really cool. So yeah, those are our recommendations for this week. We'll be back soon with an episode, ideally on Everything Everywhere All at Once and something else. So this was our episode on Severance. Shreya, how was your debut Discontent podcast experience, please?
It was fun.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.